The saga that has dominated the summer has just taken another twist. Alexander Isak, Newcastle, and Liverpool Football Club. It's the story that has swept the footballing world. We've heard about it every single day for the last 2 months. And today, the striker himself has come out on Instagram with a statement clarifying his position on the entire matter. Take a look. Isak stated, "I'm proud to be recognized by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 2024-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who has supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, it didn't feel right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself." Alexander Isak. I don't know about you guys, but I'm bored. I am very, very bored of the entire situation. I'm ready for this to kind of just be over, man. Every single day, I feel like Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein, Ben Jacobs, Indy Kyla these days, every single moment of every single day, there's a new update to this story. And yet, on August 19th, we are still no closer to finding a resolution to this. Until maybe now, will this statement by Isak kind of push the agenda? Will it push the move over? I don't know anymore, man. But look, I've held off making too many videos on this because, again, if I wanted to rinse the Isak story, I very well could have. But it's just boring to me now. However, I have to say this, right? I mean, about damn time Isak came out with a statement like this, because I feel like we've heard so much about what he wants and how he feels and what he's doing that it would have been nice earlier to probably hear from him, but it's about damn time that he comes out with this statement. But just in general, right? I have to be honest with you guys, right? I'm less than impressed with the way he's kind of behaved this entire saga. I'm less than impressed. Let me make this very, very clear. I totally respect any and every footballer that feels like in a situation they're currently in, they can do better and they have the right to aspire to do better. There's a footballing food chain. Some lower team fans might not like to hear that, but it's the reality. Newcastle's a big club. Liverpool's even bigger. Real Madrid's even bigger than that. Newcastle is bigger than, who's a club I can think they're automatically better. They're bigger than Brighton. Brighton are bigger than Luton Town. Luton Town are, and so on and so forth. So for Alexander Isak to feel like he is a good enough player to make the next step in his career to a bigger club that's challenging for trophies and competing in Europe every single year, he's well within his rights to do so. I don't begrudge Alexander Isak for wanting to go to Liverpool. Hell, if I was Alexander Isak, I would want to go to Liverpool. They're the best team in the league. They might be the best team in the world when they sign him. Having said that, I find it very ironic that Isak says promises are broken and trust is lost. Now, I'm fully aware that there appears to have been some kind of gentleman's agreement or some kind of spoken word between Isak and Newcastle United that Isak expressed a desire to leave at the end of the season. I think there was probably conversation around a contract that he was expecting to be earned, and that didn't end up happening. And he definitely has the right to feel a type of way if those promises or those spoken words aren't followed through on. But we're talking about business here. We're talking about business. When it comes to business, we're talking about money. We're talking about contracts. We're talking about written word. We're talking about negotiations and agreements from person A to person B that is agreed upon in writing. So I don't really care about gentleman's agreement. I take this back to Harry Kane a few seasons back with Spurs, where Harry Kane signed an outrageous contract. I think, what was it, seven plus years at one point in the prime of his career to stay with Spurs. And about 2 to 3 years in, decided he wanted to put in a transfer request or announce he wanted to leave because of a gentleman's agreement with Daniel Levy. It didn't end up happening because a gentleman's agreement means absolutely nothing outside of what you and that person say. As long as it's not in paper, as long as it's not in writing, as long as it's not on a contract, it's effectively useless here, right? Yes, he has the right to feel that he's been kind of deceived here, but again, we're talking about business. This is not personal. It's not emotional. It's just business. The business states Newcastle has a contract 6 years with 3 years left on it, where you are paid £100,000 a week to come to your job, perform, play for the club, and honor your contract. So when you talk about promises being broken, the only promise really being broken here that actually matters is the contract that you signed with Newcastle United 3 seasons back for 6 years. You could have very well put a break in that contract, a clause in that contract that after 3 seasons, maybe a bigger club can come in and buy you for a set fee, a release clause, a term in your contract that if a certain club comes, Newcastle have to accept less. That would all have been very valid. And if Newcastle then basically deny that, then promises are being broken and trust is being lost. But the only thing that has officially been put into contract here is his contract with Newcastle. And I'm sorry, you have 3 years left on your deal. 3 years left on your deal. For you to throw a fuss the way you have this summer, effectively throwing your toys out the prem, going on strike, announcing you never want to play for the club, now putting this statement out. Honestly, I really like Alexander Isak. I think he's an amazing player. I think he's one of the best strikers in the world. I think he's going to be an amazing player for Liverpool when this eventually happens. But there's ways of going about your business, and this isn't one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, Newcastle United do not have to sell Alexander Isak if they don't want to. That's the name of the game. They don't have to sell him if they don't want to. I'll tell you what they do have to do. They have to pay him. They have to give him workers' rights. They have to give him a salary every single week, but they don't have to sell him. Now, if he wants to leave, they can decide to sell him for a fee that they deem meritable enough. Now, in their eyes, 150 million pounds is something they view as good value for money, given Isak's position in the game, his status in the game, how many years left he has on his deal, how much strikers are going for in this market, how much money Liverpool have just spent on Verts. In their eyes, 150 million pounds, everything taken into account, is fair value for Isak. Liverpool aren't willing to spend that. They're not going to spend 150. Isak wants to go. But I'm sorry, if a club doesn't come in and match the value that your club deems you at, I don't see how you can just decide, I'm going to throw a fit. I'm going to basically throw a temper tantrum because I don't get what I want. Now, the other way works, right? If Isak wants to run down his contract, by all means, he's able to do so. And this is why I didn't begrudge Trent when he did this. This is why I didn't begrudge Mbappe when he did this. This is player power. If you want to run down your contract, there's nothing the club can do about it. They can offer you new contracts. You don't have to accept any of them. You can go on a free at the end of your contract. And fans might have something to say about it, but who cares? That's your right as an employee, as a worker, to run down your contract and go to any club at that point for free. But I'm sorry, as long as you have three years left on your deal, by the way, 2 years, I'd understand it. 2 years, all of a sudden you can say, okay, I'm not going to sign. Then in a year, you're going to have 1 year left. You're not going to get less money from me. Then the club's under pressure. 3 years, I'm sorry, Newcastle should be under no pressure to sell Isak. They shouldn't be. No club with a player with 3 years left on their deal should feel under pressure to sell that player. This sends a bad message to the footballing world here because it's a bad precedent to take now. Because if Isak, with three years left on his deal, can throw his toys out the prem and try and force a move like this for a club of Newcastle's status, I'm sorry, what's stopping anyone else from doing the same? Seriously, any player now with 3 years left on their deal, the minute they want to leave, what's stopping them from basically boycotting training, going on strike, putting out statements like this, and honestly acting like the worst employee possible until you get what you want? What's stopping it? Seriously, why even have contracts anymore? I feel like the way Isak has behaved this entire ordeal has been nothing short of an embarrassment. I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. And I'm consistent with this, by the way, right? Some people will say, well, why weren't you like this with Gyökeres? Why? First of all, this is the highest profile move of the summer. So of course we're going to talk about this more than Gyökeres. But I'll look at Wissa, for example, as well too. The way Wissa is behaving at Brentford at the moment. Brentford no team has to sell you. There's nothing in your contract unless there's a release clause or a buyout clause or an agreement that if a certain team comes in, they must sell you for a certain amount. Outside of those circumstances, these clubs don't have to sell you. They don't. And that's not clubs holding you hostage or whatever. That's how business works. You signed a contract with them. Just like that contract protects you from if you have an injury, the club can't just throw you aside. They can't stop paying you. They can't basically release you from it. Just like that contract protects you, it also protects the club that you signed the contract with. So the way Isak is behaving right now, again, I'm not trying to say like he doesn't have a point here. I'm sure that there were words exchanged between him and Newcastle. I think there was a story that him and a former board member, there was an agreement between the two of them that there would be a new contract for him, and that ended up collapsing when that person left. I understand why he definitely feels a way about it, but to go about it the way he has, I feel is so poor. And it's poor for the Newcastle fans as well too, right? Because they don't deserve this. At the weekend, for example, they go to watch their team against Aston Villa. They pay money to go to that game. They pay money to get there. They pay money for the ticket. They pay money for the ride back, food. So maybe they stay, well, obviously Villa is not too far away from them, but you understand what I'm saying? They do all of this work to go see their team. They probably saved money throughout the week to go do that, just to see their main number 9, who gets paid £100,000 a week, has effectively decided, nah, I don't feel like playing today. And I don't feel like playing until I get what I want. even though I signed a contract with this team. There's ways of going about your business. This is not a good way of doing it. And I'm sorry, it's not an Isak to Liverpool thing. Seriously, if people are still trying to say like, oh, Lyes is just saying this because Liverpool, do me a favor, bro. Do me a favor. If this was to any other club, I would say the same thing, right? Every player has the right to aim higher in their career. No doubt about it. But I'm sorry, there's ways of doing things. And at the end of the day, you have to honor the contract to a certain extent. If Liverpool come in with an amount of money that matches their valuation, Newcastle will sell him. And by the way, Newcastle have been trying to replace him all window, right? It's not Newcastle's fault that Sesko didn't want to join, Joao Pedro didn't want to join, Liam Delap didn't want to join, Cunha didn't want to join, Ekitike didn't want to join. They're trying. It's not like they're effectively saying, nah, we're not going to sell you. They are trying to find a replacement before they sell you, which again, they're well within their rights to do. It's not their fault that clearly they don't have enough pull to do it. Isak is acting like Newcastle are holding him hostage. In what world are they holding you hostage? They're just honoring their contract until they can find a replacement. Like, am I going crazy here? Am I seeing this a different way to other people? I know Liverpool fans are going to jump to Isak's defense because he's effectively their player already. He hasn't signed a contract with them yet, even though apparently contracts don't matter much to him, but he's effectively going to be a Liverpool player. So I get why they're defending him, right? But for everyone not affiliated with Liverpool and Newcastle here, am I going crazy? Am I the only one looking at the situation and thinking, what is Isak doing? Like, why is he acting this entitled? Is he the first player that wants to get a big move and it doesn't end up happening? And this has happened before, it's going to happen after you. There's ways of going about it, and statements like this, again, I respect the fact that he's finally spoken out. I think he should have done this a while ago, right? But the whole way he has gone through this entire ordeal, I'm over it, man. I'm bored. I'm tired. I want it to end. Like, I think he's going to end up joining Liverpool now because he has just made things so uncomfortable for Newcastle, right? He has made things so... You know what? Forget about Newcastle, right? Eddie Howe. I feel bad for Eddie Howe, and I feel bad for Isak's teammates because they don't have anything to do with it. This isn't their problem, and yet they have to answer questions about it. They have to go into games preparing about their talisman. Eddie Howe, the poor guy, man, I mean, he's probably at this point hoping they sell Isak. Just get me a striker. Let me coach my team. This shit doesn't interest him. Just let me coach my team to the best of my abilities. At the end of the day now, right? I think he will end up going to Liverpool. I just think now the damage, it's too much, right? He said it himself, changes in the best interest. I don't know who changes it. Outside of Liverpool and you, I don't know who changes it for the best interest. Change is not in the best interest for Newcastle. They wanted to keep you. So that's rich coming from you, to be honest. It's only good for you in Liverpool. But at this point, I think Newcastle has to sell him. This is now too much drama. If they were really petty, they would keep him. If Newcastle were super, super petty and they prioritized punishing Isak more than their own success, they would keep him. They would refuse to do business with Liverpool, and they would go into the next season, or at least the next 6 months, with Isak either being forced to play, or if you don't want to play in a World Cup year, you're sitting on the bench. They're not going to do that because at the end of the day, Newcastle have to look out for Newcastle. And I think they have to sell him because now it's just becoming too big of a story. He is effectively becoming a stain on their club, right? This kind of stuff paints Newcastle in a bad light, even though it shouldn't, because in my eyes, I don't think they've done that much wrong here. I really don't. A bar, again, if there's been like they lied to him or whatever, that's another thing, right? But by the way, Isak doesn't mention one promise broken here. It's a very vague statement, to be honest with you, right? Like, it's easy to say promises have been broken, trust is lost. Can you name me the promises? Can you at least tell us one thing that they lied to you about? But Newcastle have to sell him at this point, man. They have to. It's now becoming a bit of a circus. Who do they go in for? It's a shame because at the time, Ekitike would have been really good for them. I mean, imagine they got Ekitike. Wow, what a replacement that would have been. Sesko would have been good for them. Now, I mean, they're looking at what, Wissa? I think I saw Strand Larson today. Like, it's just very underwhelming going from... Like, you're never going to get Isak like for like, right? You're going to have to find someone that can develop into Isak, like Isak. But Strand Larson and Wissa, to go from Isak to Strand Larson and Wissa when you're in Europe, you're going to compete to be back in Europe. It just feels very, very underwhelming. And it's a shame the way this is all gone, man, because Isak 4 months ago was a hero in that city. He was deified by that group, right? To go from that to now, the next time that he goes to St. James's Park, my goodness, I don't think you'll hear a louder reception in the most negative way possible than the next time Isak travels to St. James's Park. Coincidentally, these two teams are playing next Monday. Isak will not be playing, I'm sure, for either of them. But my goodness, Joe Ellington, keep an eye out for him. That guy is going to be looking to hurt people on Monday. Newcastle versus Liverpool next Monday will be a bloodbath. It will be war. And I'm not sure the Isak situation will be dealt with by then. But I can only really see this ending one way. And that's Isak playing for Liverpool. And by the way, it's going to be an amazing signing for Liverpool. That is going to catapult them to a whole different stratosphere. And the one thing I want to say, right? Already, I think it's been disproved by Verts, right? But if anybody ever tried saying from this day onwards that Liverpool don't have pull, we are witnessing one of the best strikers in the world bend over backwards to make this move to only Liverpool. Not Al Hilal, not Man United when they would need a striker, not anybody else, Arsenal, Madrid, no one. He has bent over backwards for Liverpool. So anybody trying to say from this day onwards, Liverpool don't have pull, Liverpool can't attract the biggest names, Liverpool can't bring in the best players. Isak, well, I mean this whole window, but Isak in particular has just disproved that tenfold. But let's see how this ends, man. Personally, like I said, I can only see it ending one way, but I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, your views, your opinions. Let me know that in the comment section below. And more importantly than that, right? Like, not do you think it'll happen, but what do you think of Isak's behavior this entire window? Is it warranted? Is this what you have to do to force a move these days? Or is this kind of a stain on the game? Because personally, right, I'm a little disgusted seeing the way he's acted, man. If this is how footballers are going to act nowadays when shit doesn't go their way, I fear that the game is going in a dark place. Because I'm sorry, clubs have to hold some power in some way. And I understand clubs can easily discard players to the under 21s if they want to. They can take their dressing room away. They can strip them of their club number. But one thing clubs can never do, unless it's a disciplinary thing that they're legally allowed to do, they can never stop paying a player a contract. They can never stop paying a player a wage. Sancho at Man United, he's not part of the first team squad. He's not in the dressing room. He's part of the bomb squad, right? They can't stop paying him $300K a week because they're legally obliged to. So for a player to move this way when he's getting paid, to refuse to play, to refuse to train, I find it shocking. But let me know what you guys think, man. Am I overreacting or do I have a point? Like, share, subscribe. We're almost at 80,000 subscribers. I can only do it with you guys' help. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.